Who do you think is the greatest, strongest, most powerful, bestest avatar of all time? Who do you think is the GOAT avatar? Even though only a few avatars have ever been mentioned on the show, which is a travesty, there have been hundreds and hundreds of avatars throughout history. God, imagine how long the show would have been if we learned about every single avatar. Anyway, from the first avatar, 1, to the most recent avatar, Korra, we've seen them restore peace to the universe by mastering all 4 elements. So I'm gonna rank the most powerful avatars who have separated themselves from the pack. It's only fair to start off with the first avatar, 1. He was the most spiritual avatar of all time, seeing as he lived back when the physical world and the spirit world were one. Back then, human cities were on the backs of lion turtles that were capable of giving humans power to go into the spirit woods and defend themselves. These powers would later become known as the elements. Once the humans returned, they would give their powers back to the lion turtle so they don't harm anyone in the city. These lion turtles were essentially the guardians of human civilization. As you can see, times were much simpler back then. Wan was the first human to treat the spirits with respect, despite mastering the power to bend fire, and eventually earned their respect and fused with Rava, the spirit of light and peace. He was the first human to live among the spirits. Rava had to hold the other abilities for Wan because the lion turtle said you can't have more than one element at a time. Weird rule, I know, but once Rava fused with him at the harmonic convergence, he was finally able to use all 4 elements and sealed the dark spirit Vatu in the Tree of Time. This separated the physical and spirit worlds for the next 10,000 years. Decisively defeating Vatu was no easy feat whatsoever, but it took fusing with Rava for Wan to even stand a chance, so it wasn't all his doing. Sure, he accessed the Avatar state and sealed Vatu away for 10,000 years, but he needed some help from the spirit of light and peace. I'm sure he did so much good for the world in his lifetime that we weren't able to see, but at the end of the day, war is inevitable, and he lost his life trying to bring peace to the world. They say that the Avatar benefits from the knowledge of their past lives, but considering Wan is the first Avatar, he had no past lives to benefit from. Wan was clearly the strongest human of his time, and the first to master all 4 elements, but over the last 10,000 years, there have been some stronger avatars than him. Roku succeeded Kiyoshi and preceded Aang. He was one of the most well-respected avatars in history. From the day he learned he was the Avatar, Roku spent countless hours studying and learning everything about the history of the world and the 4 elements. He was the most dedicated Avatar, and probably the wisest and most experienced one as well. Naturally, this led to Roku mastering the elements quickly and becoming incredibly powerful, but not everything came easy to him. Sure, learning the 4 abilities was a breeze for him, but he struggled with the Avatar state at first. Similar to Aang, he initially was out of control, but eventually got it down pat. Roku had one big weakness, and that was his tendency to show mercy. He mentioned that he was too indecisive in his life, which eventually led to his downfall. He grew up best friends with Fire Lord Sozin. Over time, Sozin and him grew distant since, like most Fire Lords for some reason, Sozin wanted the Fire Nation to conquer the world while Roku wanted to keep world peace. This put Roku in between a rock and a hard place. He defeated Sozin in battle and had the opportunity to take his friend's life, but he showed mercy, which led to a war that would last 100 years. Roku would later lose his life defending his hometown from a volcano threatening to destroy it. He died because of his decision, and it was clear that his choice weighed heavily on him when we saw Aang talk to him. He wanted to make sure that Aang didn't make the same mistakes as him, and let him know that he very well might need to take Fire Lord Ozai's life if it came down to it. He wanted Aang to be stronger than he was. Some would see Roku's inability to take Sozin's life as a sign of weakness, but that's not necessarily the case. Of course, the Avatar should have taken him out then and there, knowing how Sozin had the potential to bring chaos to the world. But Roku still showed his strength when he put his life on the line to save his hometown and came up short. That being said, it was a very underwhelming way for Roku to go out. An argument could be made that Kiyoshi should be considered the strongest Avatar, but I believe that she was the second strongest. She was undoubtedly the most ruthless Avatar out of all of them, and shared a lot of similarities with Korra. They're both headstrong and like to face conflicts head-on, But the difference is that Kiyoshi didn't have the easiest upbringing. She was born to two criminals who eventually abandoned her, but despite all of this, her parents were the inspiration behind her unique outfit. Kiyoshi was the tallest and longest living avatar of all time. In fact, she single-handedly used her immense power to create Kiyoshi Island. Instead of fighting Chin the Conqueror, Kiyoshi entered the Avatar state and broke off a chunk of the peninsula where she lived from mainland Earth Kingdom, which would later become known as Kiyoshi Island. Chin was standing right on the edge of the cliff and lost his life when the ground gave out from under him. Kiyoshi wasn't the most well-liked avatar because she did things her way, which tended to work out more often than not. Kiyoshi could honestly top this list just from the feat of strength alone. But wait, there's more. In the novel The Rise of Kiyoshi, we learn so much more about the warrior. The first time Kiyoshi used the Avatar state, she boiled the sea and capsized plenty of ships with juts of rock coming from the sea floor. Yeah, if you thought Aang's Avatar state was impressive, hers was also very powerful. She was able to send armies into a complete panic all on her own. From a horrific upbringing to having enough power to create a whole island by herself, Kiyoshi has done some unbelievable things in her time. She mastered her iconic combat style where she combined her fans with bending to give her the utmost precision. Her armor protects her against arrows and other projectiles. She even passed down her legacy to a whole group of women on her island, the Kiyoshi Warriors. While the Kiyoshi Warriors might not be masters of any elements, they dedicate their life to keeping Kiyoshi Island and the greater Earth Kingdom safe in her honor. Next up is protagonist of Avatar: The Legend of Korra. You guessed it, it's Korra herself. Being the main character of one of the series means that we know more about Korra than most avatars. Honestly, she's probably the most naturally gifted out of all of the avatars. She mastered waterbending, firebending, and earthbending by the age of 4. Something that took the other avatars years and years of training, she mastered as a kid. It's actually insane when you think about it. She was a natural. Korra only struggled with airbending because it was so much different than what she was used to, yet she was also the first avatar to learn metal bending. She's all about combat and power, very headstrong and willing to do anything to save those she loves. But that doesn't mean that she was the most powerful avatar. You'd also think that since she's the most recent avatar, she'd be the strongest one, but her connection to the past avatars was severed in her battle against Unalaq and Vaatu. She did retain the spirit of Rava, which could temporarily increase her strength, so it wasn't all bad for Korra, but losing that connection to the past avatars is a big deal. Korra lacked focus and commitment in other areas. The reason she struggled so much with airbending was because it involves keeping a calm mind, something she's always had difficulty with. She's very hot-tempered and emotional, which caused her to lag well behind other avatars in her spiritual training. Even when she was able to enter the spirit world, she didn't get along with the spirits at first because she had trouble keeping a positive attitude. She was far from the most balanced avatar. In battle, Korra could be a force to be reckoned with due to her mastery of combat. Just look at her experience in the pro scene. The Fire Ferrets only lost to the White Falls Wolfbats in the finals because they were cheating, not because they were better than the team. In most battles, including those not in the pro bending scene, Korra often relied on the help of others to get the job done, which made her look weaker than some of the other avatars we've seen. Last but certainly not least, we have Aang, the strongest avatar in history. He is, of course, the protagonist of Avatar: The Last Airbender and one of the best main characters of all time. There are so many things that impress me about Aang, I don't even know where to start, but I guess we could start where it all began. Technically, Aang is 112 years old during the show, but he was frozen in ice for 100 of those years, so he's actually just 12. Yes, you heard that right, Aang defeated the Fire Lord and brought peace to the world at just 12 years old. It's unbelievable. Technically, Aang went through the most Avatar cycles. Since his successor, Korra, lost her connection with the past avatars, that means that Aang went through the most avatar cycles and benefited the most from his past lives. So, his inner power was stronger than any other avatar in history. Being the last airbender, Aang knew all there was to know about airbending, but he didn't know how to use any of the other 3 elements. He mastered each of the other 3 elements in under a year. He didn't perfect them, but he learned enough about them to defeat Fire Lord Ozai. I feel like if he had more time, he would have definitely been able to master something else like blood bending, metal bending, or lava bending. Aang wasn't just strong physically, but he was morally strong as well. Despite all of the avatars telling Aang that he might have to permanently take care of Fire Lord Ozai, if you know what I mean.
Why would I put my finger on his throat?
He spared the Fire Lord, finding a way to take his bending and not his life. That was a huge responsibility for young Aang to deal with. But he got the job done and ended the war while still showing mercy. He even did incredible things in adulthood with Fire Lord Zuko that we weren't able to see. Aang is the most powerful and well-respected avatar of all time because he was strong in multiple different aspects, not just in terms of bending. He created a legacy that will last forever and is immortalized through a gorgeous statue in Republic City.